The Hidden Kingdom. M.I.A. Thompson was a determined journalist, always on the lookout for the next big story. He was known for his relentless pursuit of the truth, often going where others feared to tread. His latest assignment brought him to an old, forgotten part of the city, a once thriving district now crumbling into disrepair. The Victorian buildings, with their ornate facades and broken windows, stood as ghostly reminders of a time long gone. The area had been abandoned for years, left to decay and fall apart. Rumors of strange occurrences had been circulating for months, stories of people disappearing, strange noises in the dead of night, and shadows moving where none should be. Most people dismissed these tales as urban legends, but for M.I.A. they were the perfect starting point. He began his investigation by talking to the locals, shopkeepers, passers-by, and the homeless who had made the deserted streets their home. Everyone had a story to tell, though most were vague and filled with the kind of superstitions that thrived in such forgotten corners of the world. One day, M.I.A. found himself in front of a small, dimly lit antique shop run by an elderly woman named Mrs. Hargrove. The shop was filled with an odd assortment of objects, dusty books, faded portraits, and peculiar trinkets that seemed to watch M.I.A. as he moved. Mrs. Hargrove was eager to talk, more than willing to share her stories about the area's eerie past. She told M.I.A. about the hidden kingdom beneath the city, where tiny people lived, people no bigger than a rat, who moved silently through the walls and shadows, observing the world above but never revealing themselves. They call themselves the Bono, Mrs. Hargrove said in a hushed voice, her eyes darting to the dark corners of the shop as if afraid of being overheard. They've lived here for centuries, long before this city even existed. They keep to themselves mostly, but lately they've been restless. There are things they don't want anyone to know. M.I.A. was intrigued but skeptical. A hidden society of tiny people? It sounded like something out of a fairy tale. But Mrs. Hargrove's warning stayed with him, especially the part about the old theatre at the end of the street, a place shrouded in darkness and mystery where no one had ventured for decades. The building stood like a looming spectre, its grand entrance blocked by iron gates and faded posters that advertised long-forgotten performances.
That night, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to see the theater for himself. He returned, armed with his camera and flashlight, ready to explore. The front door was locked, but Mia found a side entrance, pried open just enough for him to slip through. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and the smell of mold. The grand hall, once a place of laughter and applause, was now a desolate cavern of broken seats and torn curtains. His flashlight flickered over the stage, and for a brief moment, Mia thought he saw movement, a shadow darting just beyond his line of sight. He brushed it off as his imagination, but as he continued to explore, he felt an uneasy presence, like he was being watched. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gave way, and Mia found himself sliding down a hidden chute, tumbling into darkness. He landed hard on the cold, damp floor of what seemed like an underground chamber. As he gathered himself, he realized he was no longer alone. Tiny figures, no taller than his knees, surrounded him, dressed in makeshift clothes fashioned from scraps and remnants of the world above. Their eyes were wide and alert, and they moved with a silent grace, communicating in gestures and whispers. Mia had stumbled into the heart of the hidden kingdom, a vast network of tunnels and chambers that stretched beneath the city. The Bono had built a complex society, complete with homes, marketplaces, and even a rudimentary form of governance. They thrived in the forgotten spaces of the city, scavenging what they needed and staying out of sight. But there was something darker at play. As Mia wandered through their world, he noticed strange symbols etched into the walls and shrines dedicated to ancient, unknown gods. The Bono were wary of Mia but didn't harm him. Instead, they led him to their leader, an old, wise Bono named Calyx. He explained that their society had existed in secret for centuries, protected by the shadows and the ignorance of those above. But recently, the balance had been disturbed. People from the surface had been venturing to close, driven by greed and curiosity. Calyx spoke of treasure hunters who sought a fabled artifact hidden within the Bono's realm, a small, crystalline orb said to possess unimaginable power. Mia learned that the Bono were guardians of this orb, an ancient relic with the ability to manipulate reality itself. For generations, they had kept it safe, using its power sparingly to maintain their hidden world. But now, outsiders had caught wind of its existence, and they would stop at nothing to find it. The Bono feared that if the orb fell into the wrong hands, it could bring disaster to both their world and the surface above. Mia's journalist instincts kicked in. He wanted to tell the world about the Bono and their incredible secret, but he also understood the gravity of the situation. The Bono's survival depended on their anonymity, and exposing them would bring nothing but ruin. Calyx made it clear that if Mia left their kingdom, he would be sworn to secrecy. The tiny people would allow him to return to the surface, but he could never speak of what he had seen. Reluctantly, Mia agreed. The Bono escorted him back to the old theater, guiding him through a maze of hidden passages that led to the surface. As he emerged into the cold night air, Mia felt a strange mix of awe and sadness. He had uncovered a truth that few would ever know, but it was a story he could never tell. However, Mia's encounter with the Bono didn't go unnoticed. Unbeknownst to him, someone had been tracking his movements, a rival journalist who had been following the same trail of disappearances. He had seen Mia enter the theater and waited for him to emerge. When he did, he confronted him, demanding to know what he had found. Mia tried to brush him off, but his rival was persistent, threatening to expose his secrets if he didn't share what he knew. Mia realized that keeping the Bono's secret wouldn't be easy. With the threat of exposure looming, he had to make a choice: protect the hidden kingdom or risk everything to keep the Bono safe from those who would exploit them. Determined to uphold his promise, Mia destroyed his notes and deleted his recordings, vowing to protect the tiny people and their extraordinary world. As he walked away from the theater, Mia knew he would never be the same. The city around him was still bustling and loud, but he had seen the unseen, discovered the hidden kingdom that lay just beneath the surface. It was a secret he would carry with him forever, a testament to the mysteries that still linger in the forgotten corners of the world. But the Bono were not forgotten. They watched Mia from the shadows, silently grateful yet ever vigilant, knowing that their greatest ally was now a lone protector among the giants above. And though Mia's story would never be told, the hidden kingdom remained safe, tucked away in the darkness, waiting for the day when it might be needed again. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon.